Alrighty. Welcome to Nephew and Uncle Basketball Banter, folks. Uncle Dave, with our first topic, I thought we would get started with John Wall deciding to call it a career. Played 10 full seasons, well, 10 seasons he played, actually. He had missed two whole seasons due to injury. What is your opinion of John Wall, and what do you make of his career?
Um, People always say to me all the time, you say how much of a basketball fan I am, historian. They always say, "Give me, give me five guys that you'd like to see healthy." He's one of them.
Yes.
He's definitely one of the six or seven most talented athletes ever to play that position.
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit on this show. The guys who are just the biggest freaks, he's one of them for sure. I mean,
He's
there's
he's a
not
one
many
man fast
guards.
break.
There's not many guards I've seen college or NBA that could take the ball coast to coast and dunk it with both hands with one hand. Just unbelievable
Yeah,
athlete, this guy.
and the reason I was rooting for him in his career was because his first year in the NBA, he had about 7 or 8 games with 10 turnovers,
Yeah, I
but
remember that early on. Yep.
he never took his foot off the pedal, and I really respected that. Never a great shooter, but this guy was averaging over a 5 year period, 10 assists, 4.5 rebounds, and, 2 steals a game. And, while getting 15, 16 points. So just a hell of a player, a really good defender, made all NBA defensive team, all NBA team. He had like a 5 year run there until he starts getting hurt. I mean, he's a guy that
Yeah,
if
he
he's
led the,
healthy,
he led the league in assists one year in the NBA with
yeah,
10 and a half. So he
yeah, and if
really was
he's
a
if he's
player.
if he's healthy with the Clippers, they have a chance to win something with those teams. He's like I said, like KJ, Baron Davis, Russell Westbrook, obviously, uh, D Rose, Stephon Marbury, some of the greatest athletes to ever play the point. Just pure athleticism. He's right up there with him. Probably not as a high a jumper as some, but the fastest probably of them all that I've ever seen push a ball from one end to the other. Just incredible talent. Just such a shame, the injuries and bad luck and just one of those guys that of course I'd always like to see Len Bias play, but I feel cheated with John Wall. I feel like him and Brandon Roy, guys like that just never got their chance to really be the guys that they could have been. T Mac even a little bit lesser example. We knew T Mac was a stud anyway, but still would love to have seen him gotten a little bit more. So that was disappointing. But yeah, this guy was one of those guys. He's just so talented, but he's buried for the Wizards. And when you play for the Wizards, nothing good happens these days. So you feel bad. There's a guy that maybe could have turned it.
Yeah, I wish he would have been able to play more meaningful postseason basketball, see him in the finals maybe a couple times. A guy like Russell Westbrook, I feel like if you're someone who's a fan of him, there's no reason why you wouldn't have been a fan of John Wall. And you
Yeah,
look at his
yeah,
career, he's basically like a 29-5 guy practically. I mean, he really had I mean, looking at his season averages with points, I mean,
yeah,
he's averaged nearly 20 points a game. It was
yeah.
just
He's
incredible.
without those bad years there, his tops, he's like a 20 and 9, 10 guy. It's he's like I said, all defensive team, all rookie, all NBA, 5 time All Star, just really great player.
What was
Uh,
shocking to me, Uncle Dave, is he's 12th all time in assists in the NBA.
yeah, he's going into social media right away. He's got a podcast and stuff coming out, so and he's
Yeah,
going to
per,
work.
per, per game, per game, he's 12th all time. I meant not,
Yeah,
but
and he's
almost nine a game.
also going to work, I think, for NBC with the new model. So happy for him. I just hate to see him not get his chance to show because, like I said, he's like D Rose in that respect, where they got hurt too early. D Rose at least could play, but just this guy was a freak. I mean, like just a one man fast break at 6'4" and
Could block shots. I mean,
yep,
his season averages on blocks. He's almost averaging 2 blocks a game for a point guard.
one
It's just
yeah,
ridiculous.
and one of the best on ball defenders in the league too. And
Yes. Yep. He was tough. Yep.
unlike Marbury, who got Larry Brown, this guy got hurt. So
It makes
just
you
one of
wonder,
those.
though. I was thinking this today. You have a situation with the Pacers, right, where Halliburton's out the whole year. Why don't you bring a guy like this on who's a veteran and just see what he has for you? Yeah, I just
I
don't
don't know. Maybe
understand that.
maybe it was his choice. I don't know. I didn't read a lot behind the scenes. I know he's got a media gig right away. I guess maybe the pain is too great,
Yeah.
but just such a good player. I mean, jeez. I mean, even a team like the Knicks, you bring him off the bench to back up at the point. Um, was a pass first guy, not a shoot first guy. So he'd be perfect for a lot of teams' second units off the bench. But maybe he didn't want to do it anymore. Maybe he's very prideful and doesn't want to play at a lesser level. I respect that, but just
Right.
such a shame that we never got to see see the stud. Very, very disappointing.
Plus,
When
when
I
he
got
you got to understand, he gets drafted by the Wizards number 1 overall. You have the whole weight of the franchise on your shoulders there. That's a lot to deal with,
yes,
especially as a point guard. It's hard to obviously you can dictate the game greatly as a point guard, but especially you talk about all-time great little guys. I mean, he's not like 6 foot, he's 6'3", but still though, like you said, he came in, didn't really have a jump shot. Had all the other intangibles though for sure. But he's a guy that if he would have played 4 or 5 more years, maybe won a championship, you might have been talking about him as a Hall of Fame player.
yeah, Hall of Fame talent, no doubt.
Yes,
Just
absolutely.
was great. A great year at Kentucky. Just a very talented guy, and like I said, he's a guy that a lot like Reggie Lewis too. You didn't get to see him in his prime. He was just getting the hang of it, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, he had in 2016, 2017, he had knee surgeries on both knees. He had both knees scoped. I mean, once you have that stuff being done to you, it's just
Yeah, I mean,
it just
he
eventually
had
doesn't
a
work.
burst. He had a speed
That's the
about him.
thing with him. Him and Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose are three guys that stand out to me. Just the explosiveness to the rim in the open court. It was like a
Yeah,
blur.
yeah, Magic Johnson, not Magic Johnson, Kevin Johnson was also like that before your time there. Kevin KJ was just go watch him dunk on a Keem in a playoff game. You just know how good he was. And Stephon Marbury too.
Yeah,
Just so explosive, just ridiculous. Where they get off the floor and the body, it's just so strong
yeah.
and just so talented. You just feel bad for kids like this. I don't feel bad. He made a lot of money, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, he had 11-year career. I would be surprised if this guy has any regrets at the end of his career. I think he pretty much did things the right way.
He
Not saying
did.
there weren't struggles at
He
times.
got hurt. I'm sure
Yeah,
his his regret would be that he got hurt, but he
right.
didn't do anything. He didn't do anything wrong. But
Oh,
he was a great player, man. He could have been a yes, first ballot, no doubt. He was on his way.
right.
Was
High
just
motor guy too, like you said, played both ends of the floor. Really, just
yeah,
respect his game. He was one of those guys where if he was on, you always watched because you knew something crazy could happen.
yeah.
Offense,
He's like Westbrook. If the shot's going on, there's
yeah,
nothing you can do with him. They'll get
right,
50. There's
right,
nothing you can do. I mean, back plus now, there's no defense in the league. If you got a healthy guy like that playing today, when they try to switch that pick and roll, oh my
yeah.
god!
Well,
I
that
mean,
was
it's
the
a
thing.
guy.
Him and March and Gortat, players still talk about how they had that like screen with March and Gortat that was pretty much almost unstoppable there.
Yep,
The Wizards were a team you really just could have used another real stud or two, and
yeah,
maybe they would have had a chance to make a deep run in the East. But you're going against the Bulls with Derrick Rose, and you had LeBron who made his
yep.
entrance, from the going to the Heat to the Cavaliers. So he had to deal with prime LeBron all those years.
That one year they did add that extra guy, and I can't remember who it was when they did get the third guy, but it didn't pan out. I forget who it was. They added him after, like they were ready to take that next step. They added the third guy. I'm trying to remember which guy it was now, and they just never took that next step anyway. So it was disappointing, but you know, it's always tough when they don't when it doesn't work out the way you want. I forget who it was. I want to say might have been Georgetown guy.
Nene, Trevor Ariza, not Otto Porter Jr.
Trevor Ariza, Porter Jr. Yes, see Georgetown guy. Yep, there are guys there that just really impressive. It's just the guys that Porter never panned out. Ariza was so hot and cold. You never know what you got out of him. Just very just tough stuff. I love guys like that, but at the same time, we could have been even better with those guys.
Yeah, you had, basically they were a team that was always 10 to 15 games above 500, but never really was a true contender. But
Sure.
it was fun to watch him and Bradley Beal when they were both in their prime there. They definitely had a good run. He's a guy, he's a memorable player. I know his name I feel like carries a lot of weight, I think, moving forward. I mean, he's got a rap song named after him.
Yeah, that's the key. Yeah, the rap song is very, very big in the in basketball circles. The John Wall rap song
Right.
is one of the more respected rap songs out there.
Do the John Wall, yeah.
But
I remember
also
that
just
was like his first
also
introduction to the NBA. His opening introduction, he was doing the John Wall dance for
just
the
just a good
Wizards.
guy too. Like had fun playing. One of those guys though that just a shame.
And for what it's worth, also his number is retired by Kentucky. And he was, I remember in college, I mean that team that he was on, that 2011 team, that was a memorable Kentucky team. Obviously, didn't win a championship, but in college
Yeah,
he was still a force. You knew that he was going to be a guy that was going to be a very good NBA player.
he was a John Calipari used to rave about him, saying, "Wait do you see this kid?" And he was right.
Yep.
That's
Also,
probably
SEC Player of the Year in 2010. He was a tournament MVP in the SEC in 2010 first all team in the
He was
SEC.
a stud. He
For
was
the
a
one
stud.
year that he was there, he certainly made his mark.
No, he was a stud. He was a great player. Loved him to death. He was just really good.
So we'll see what happens. Obviously, John Wall moving forward his post NBA career, but I'm sure he's like you said, he's got a media gig lined up. He'll have a role of some sorts in the game moving forward, just not as a player
Yeah.
anymore. So John Wall calling it a career after 11 seasons, and like you said, he
Shoot.
definitely was. He's a guy who will be remembered and all-time leader for the Wizards in steals and assists, by the way, as well. So
Wow. That's saying
yep,
something
yep.
because Earl Monroe played down there for a couple of years when they were the Bullets, and he had a lot of those things too. But John Wall, great player.
So he'll be, obviously that'll probably be a while before that gets broken there. That those two records there for the
Yeah, they gotta get some talent. They can't get a break in the draft either. You feel
right.
you feel for them a little bit.
We'll transition, Uncle Dave, to two Rick Pitino quotes here. You know how we are always looking to see what college coaches are saying that hold a lot of stature. Rick Pitino is certainly one of them. And
Sure.
his proposal, I showed you two videos. One of them was going to basically mega conferences for the ACC and the Big East.
To survive basketball wise with the ACC and the Big East and so preserve the Dukes, the Carolinas, the Lobos of the world, and the Big East, combining it into a mega conference would be an awesome thing. So the Big East, I'm in total favor of going to 16, 17 teams yesterday. I'm in favor of St. Louis. I'm in favor of Dayton. I think everybody needs a partner. We're a partner with Seton Hall. Villanova's a partner with Georgetown. I think Dayton would be a partner with Xavier. We got to get a partner for Creighton. UConn has to have a partner, certainly. So we all need a traveling partner, so to speak. So when you go, you can play two games on the road. And I think having a mega conference in the Big East would only help us.
And he specifically talked about the Big East having a 17-18 conference, basically. And I know you talked about this actually a little bit on like our first, couple shows when we were first getting this going, that you thought it was kind of heading that way. And what do you think of that? Rick Pitino now is basically endorsing that. And if he's a guy, he's saying something like this, or change in the conference. What do you think of that? Do you think that this is a good idea, or do you think it just becomes
Well,
more of a circus?
I think it has to go back to the old days. If you're going to let teams be in different conferences for different sports, it can work. But like I'm telling you, like those ACC teams are never going to give up football. So like, yeah, Duke will give it up, but a Carolina's never given up football.
Right.
Clemson has obviously never given up football. That's the number one sport. And now you got a team like Miami's not giving up football, Florida State. So you're going to have to slice that conference in half. I mean, would a Duke do that? I think they would. At the same time, maybe a Wake Forest would do it. NC State is not going to do it. They like their football. You know, it just depends. Football still rules the roost. The money's not even close. Your cousin, my son, they sees those numbers all the time, and football still rules the roost. And I wouldn't mind it, but at the same time, we already had like 16 team conferences with the Big East about 5 or 6 years ago. When you watch that Requiem for the Big East thing on 30,
That's a great 30 for 30. Yeah.
the thing that they fail to tell you in that, as a historian myself, is that they stole teams from everywhere. So it's kind of funny to watch
Right.
how forgetful they were that they stole Cincinnati, they stole West Virginia. See, back in the day, Penn State played football in the Big East, but they didn't play basketball in the Big East. So this can be done. It's just not in the Big East, but they played Big East teams. This can be done, but you're gonna have to just make some kind of agreement with football. If you're gonna let the football and the basketball, the two big pie eaters, if you're gonna let them be in separate conferences, this could work. If not, I don't think you could do it.
I think you maybe have to do that because there are certain schools where they're a basketball school and football is not. Obviously, like you said, every college that's a big time university is prioritizing football, but not every school is got the same, not aspirations, but the same ability to compete at a high level in both. So you might have
Yes,
to do a situation like
you
that.
looked at the ACC. Like I said, Duke, maybe Wake. I mean, you know, obviously Connecticut and St. John's would be fine with it from the Big East, and Villanova and Georgetown, but they've already been like that. If you want to add a couple of ACC teams, you're going to have to get the right teams. Like Louisville's big into football now. Miami always has been. Florida State always has been. NC State and Carolina are going to put their money in football also. So it's going to be in Clemson. Like I said, football's first. So it's it's tough. I mean, like you'd have to really dig deep to find these guys and see if they would be willing to do that. And it just depends on the rules of college football because that's still the most money by far. You're eating your own of some of the bigger schools. So like back in the day when the Big East had like South Florida in it and Rutgers in it, yeah, some of those teams got eaten up, and it was acceptable because they weren't big basketball programs ever really. I mean, Rutgers had their moments. South Florida didn't. Uh, DePaul hasn't been good since the '80s, so like people could accept that. But when you have a conference like the SEC this year, where big name schools are eating their own, Oklahoma's 0-6. That's not acceptable at Oklahoma. Even though they're a football school first, it's still Oklahoma basketball has had many great moments. So, when you see big names going 0-6 in big conferences and 0-5, because the depth of the conference is insane, that's not acceptable. Like I said, you see DePaul or South Florida struggle, and that's one thing. You see Oklahoma or Arkansas at 2-5, that's not good enough.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that going into the year. Oklahoma, they were undefeated at a conference play.
Yeah.
Then conference play comes and they're getting blitzkrieged.
Yeah, well, like I said, that league was nuts this year. The depth of the league was crazy. This year, I expect there'll be several leagues like that. The ACC is shaping up as a deep league again, like the old days. So, it's rough. I mean, these teams are going to eat their own. It makes for very unstable coaching home situations. I'll tell you that.
No doubt.
If you sign more than a 3-year contract and you get to finish it, that's a rarity. I don't think both these guys are going to last more than 2 years. They're not going to be patient with you. They're spending so much money.
No.
Just no way to get to wait.
Well, that's the thing. The money's flying around, then you're not seeing results, and you're not
Yeah.
competing for your
Well,
conference, or you're making the
yeah.
tournament off with your head, right?
Yeah. Well, if they're going to put that kind of money in, they're going to give you the weight room and the nebulizers where you get to sleep in your own climate and slides and lunch and everything else every day. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Sure is. We'll move on, Uncle Dave, to the next Rick Pitino quote we got here with him talking about coaching late into his basically his mid 70s now. Him and Bill Belichick, he said, are the same age, and he brought up Bill Belichick in this video talking about how.
Could you see yourself stepping away from coaching?
Where was Larry Brown? Where did he step away from?
SMU. This is 10
SMU.
years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as you hit it, you hit the nail on the head. As long as you are physically and mentally able to do it, there's no reason. Look at Carroll for Las Vegas right now. His enthusiasm, his passion is awesome.
Yeah.
As long as you have great passion, Bill Belichick is my age, and as long as you have great passion, you love the game, you love coaching. Somebody asked me to quit. I get asked this all the time. Would you want to coach anywhere else? Would you want to go back to professional basketball? Um, I would. I love the EuroLeague. I could see myself possibly coaching there again, but I don't see myself coaching anywhere else in college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Last year I.
They're still coaching, and it's funny that he brought him up because we've had this conversation even before we had the show where you said there's two guys that you said just the motor for them hasn't faded at all, and you're like it's almost sickening. Rick Pitino still doing this and approaching his mid 70s here, and he basically said, "Look, if you're still in good health and you have the passion to do it, I'm going to keep coaching." So it basically sounds like he's going to coach until he physically is not able to stand anymore. I'm not shocked by this, though. Like you said, he's always been a kind of a high intensity individual here, but basically affirming what you always kind of thought about him too, that he's going to coach forever.
Yeah, him and Belichick never have any sign of like tiredness or burnout.
Right.
I guess burnout's the wrong phrase, but being 57 now and coaching since I'm 20, the hardest thing is just making sure your energy in practices is always what you need it to be. And it's not as easy when you're younger. So it's just fucking crazy that, he's still going. He's as energetic as anybody, so it's just rough. I mean, big money out there.
It just goes to show you, though, it's not always, because a lot of coaches will coach, I think, and they feel like if they've accomplished enough, it's time to hang it up. But obviously, Rick Pitino, there's nothing more he has to prove. He's already regarded as one of the best coaches ever. So he doesn't. It's not like he's having to prove to anybody that he can still do it or doing it. But he's still an elite coach, though. I mean, in
Bill
the
Belichick
game
never burnt out either.
in the
Same
game
guy.
right now, could you tell me college basketball? Are there 10 coaches you'd rather have than Rick Pitino? There's definitely not.
No, and that's why, I'm on these, like I said, I'm on these sites, and these guys. Somebody had the top 4 college coaches the other day, and I was totally wrong. And that's John Wooden and Mike Krzyzewski, which are definitely 2. And then it has Bob Knight and Dean Smith. There's no way Dean Smith is better than Rick Pitino. Roy Williams has got 3 titles. Jim Calhoun's got 3. Rupp's got 4. And again, Dean gets this pass, but Dean only won twice. And I'm sorry if we're going to go by
That
that.
always annoys Carolina fans when you bring that up. But
they can argue all they want. They got the facts.
What's also interesting, what you said is you're like, there's a couple of Carolina teams where you're like, that totally got blown, the fact that they didn't win a championship.
Oh, 74, 76. That's my infancy.
Where you thought North Carolina was the best team and they didn't win.
Oh, several times. And
Yeah.
then, not even that. They were victim many times to like the first weekend, second game. The team with, Rasheed Wallace and Stack and Montrose and those guys. I mean, good Lord. I mean, Billy Curley just ate them up. They had like 9 guys.
Do you attribute Dean Smith his basically, I mean, after the 4 corners, even we're talking about, was just too conservative on offense, do you think? Was that the reason?
No, I just think he believed in the system and never did it by feel. So I'll give you an example. So if you go back and watch that Michigan game where Weber calls the timeout, he's got Scott Cherry on the floor with 4 minutes left.
Yeah, what are you doing, right?
Now, I like Scott Cherry. He's from New Jersey, I think. Good player, 8th or 9th player. But what are you doing with Scott Cherry on the floor with 4 minutes left? I'm not trying to be a bad guy. But he just believed in that, it's his turn guy. I mean, no. And like Bob Knight said, you call timeout there if you're Memphis. In the middle of the game with the game on the line, you have to coach.
Right.
And so, Pete Newell and John Wooden used to always talk about this too. He was so committed to the system that sometimes he would just stay within the system. And it's great to have a system. The system gets you to the last 5 minutes sometimes. But after that, I think you got to go for a feel. The one thing I'll say about Dean Smith is I really believe that he's the best offensive coach of all time. Like if I was teaching an offense, because his teams, I want to say it's over 20 years straight where they shot over 50% from the field for the year. That's just insane. And you're not playing in the sisters of the poor league either. You're playing in the freaking ACC, which for those of you who don't know, the 70s, 80s, and 90s is just loaded beyond belief. That's why I laugh when people talk about this year's SEC, and go, "Oh, best ever." I just laugh my ass off. There's like 10 freaking lottery picks in the ACC in a 5 or 6 year period, and there's like 7 of them are Hall of Famers. It's nuts. You don't see that in the SEC. This group in the SEC is not going to produce that. So, you just sit there and you go, "Oh my God," this team shot over 50%. There's no team I hate more, but they just ran such beautiful offense. They always did. The high-low was impeccable. The back door was always there. They just ran great offense, and to shoot over 50% that often, I mean, it's a crazy stat. I want to say it's over 20 years. And that's just, I don't even know what to say about that. And
also the knock on Dean Smith that he didn't have anybody ever average 20 points a game.
But that's a stupid one. But
right.
The bad news is that he got everybody to play like a team and he built a culture. I would say, though, that today would be harder for him because guys don't stay. So guys would be leaving. And I know that because when I was working at Winthrop, it was this last year at Carolina, and my guy down there who I was doing film exchange with was telling me that Stackhouse and Wallace would, were driving him crazy. So he got out. He just couldn't take it anymore. Guys showing up late to practice, and he just didn't understand that. He's like this is Carolina. So how can you do that?
Yeah, how you disrespecting the name on the jersey, right? In the school.
Well, that's how I felt a couple of years ago when the one kid, the big kid who's now plays in the NBA, who transferred to Auburn, big white kid, he was talking about he wanted more touches. You're a Carolina guy. You're starting in Carolina as a freshman. It's like the point guard at Duke who wanted to have more pick and roll. Frankie Johnson, I think it was.
Fred Jackson.
His dad wanted Fred Jackson wanted to have more pick and roll options. I mean, tell Mike Krzyzewski he should have more pick and roll options. Now, I'm sure the kid's in the NBA somewhere backing up, but what are you doing here?
Yeah, Wendell Carter also bothered about not getting enough touches. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just crazy crap like that. And Wendell Carr is a nice NBA player, but he's not the main guy. So, you just sit there and you shake your head. But, that's where I think Dean, whereas Rick has had no trouble. Rick Pitino is still the same guy. And Belichick and Rick, I think, have such a reputation that the kids are on their best behavior when they walk in the door. I know that some of the St. John's guys 2 years ago when he took over really had a hard time with him getting in their face because he's still really brutal.
Well, that's the thing. Rick Pitino, we talked about it also, and we showed you some video on this program about Vice Media. They did a thing about Rick Pitino. He still looks like he's coaching. Obviously, I'm sure it's way toned down from what he used to be, I'm sure, 30
but he
years
is.
ago. But largely, a lot of what he's saying there and the firmness in which he's saying it and the veracity is still there, though, for sure.
Sure.
He's still an intense
thing,
individual.
If you want to go on Netflix and watch the SEC special for college football, it's one of the best things I've ever seen on Netflix. And you can see what the coaches are saying behind practice and closed doors, and that's how you coach. You got to get after people, and it was really enjoyable to watch. By the way, it's a new ACC basketball podcast. Even though Joel Berry's on it, I'll forgive that. But it's a good podcast, College Hoop. So it's just came out. It's going to go once a week until the fall, and then it's going to pick up. So it's really exciting to see these things happening. But this football thing on the SEC on Netflix, definitely check it out. Yeah, but Rick is very progressive. He was the guy who really brought the 3-point line to life. So he's always ahead of the curve. That's why, like I said, my original point was Dean Smith's not a top 4 coach. I'll take Rick Pitino any day. And I'll also, Jay Wright's one of the best offensive coaches too. He built the whole offense around teamwork and guys that are talented but not ultra talented. That whole offense where...
Well, that's kind of why I respect a guy like Jay Wright, too. He's got that second tier of great talent. Not the first tier, though, but
right.
able to win as much as he did. Incredible.
Yeah, and he built it. He built an offense around getting in the lane and using your pivot and posting up. And, he went and recruited that, and you saw what the culture was like when they didn't have him.
No.
It's not the same. So it's just different. Some people just have a different personality. You could feel it across the table when you sit down and interview them. But I really believe, I can't say much. I didn't see Rupp. But at the same time, John Wooden, Coach K, I'll take Bob Knight over Dean Smith also. I'll take, Bob Knight wouldn't work out today, obviously.
Look at Indiana basketball post Bob Knight, though. Not exactly doing great.
We talked about this. You could do that. You could look at DePaul. You could look at Indiana and even St. John's before Rick. I mean, you got to be honest with yourself and look in the mirror and realize that it was the dude you had, not all the dudettes.
Oh, the general makes the difference for sure. Absolutely.
Oh, well, don't forget, people, people can. Pete Newell and John Wooden used to talk about how good a teacher of the game Bob Knight was. I go to these clinics where, all over the country, and they would just talk about how he's the best teacher of the game. And that's why I feel about Rick Pitino. But at the same time, this is so hard to rank a top. I did a podcast with top 10 college coaches of all time. And, it's you could do it 10 times and get 10 different guys on that list. I mean, you're going to get the basic 5 or 6. But you have to set up a I guess, a way to judge it too. I always hate when people have they ask you a question without any basis for the question. So like kids will say to me, as soon as their March Madness bracket comes out, who do you have winning it all? I go, guys, it depends on matchups. So right now we don't know who's going to play who.
Jay Billis always says that every tournament. He's
I really can't answer. Like, should Duke get there? Sure. But if Duke plays Team A instead of Team B, it's a different game. So it's a lot of luck along the way. You got to look death in the face. But, now the NBA, more than ever, is about matchups. It didn't used to be. It used to be about teams with the 1 and the 2 seed always won. Now it's not. So, but Rick's always ahead of the curve. But I definitely have Rick Pitino in there ahead of Dean Smith. I mean, maybe that's just hate on my part, and there's probably some Carolina people turning over in their grave right now, but I'll argue it. He's one of 2 different schools. And he's very creative. They all have the same thing in common. They're very creative. But Rick is, and I'll tell you what, he gets St. John's to the Final Four, this place is going to go apeshit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, his team definitely, I think, could have been there. I mean, the game they lost in the tournament there, it's just they couldn't buy a basket. It had nothing to do with Rick Pitino's coaching, that's for sure.
Well, the bad news is that the kid Smith didn't turn out the way they hoped he had. He was a walk-in triple-double out west, and it just never really panned out from last year. This year, supposedly, they got one of the best players in the country, so we'll see. The kid's a freak athlete, so 6'10", so they're going to be fun to watch again, and he's
Even
just
with
going
all the
to.
craziness in the portal, there's still enough old school throwback kids that are great players that are still going to want to play for him. There's no
Yeah,
question. So
and the
he's
one thing that saves the game today is the fact that you're doing two-a-days in June now.
Mhm.
And the season doesn't start till November, so
Yeah, it's incredible.
they are able to build chemistry. They are able to build habits. And the modern player coming out of high school doesn't have those habits, so it's very much needed. Whoever talked them into that was great. And they're all going sometimes two-a-days now. Now the class starts, I'm sure no, but so that is a positive that you can push and push and push in a different way now. So the game's just different. You have to be a good fit where you're going. So guys who transfer and stuff like that. But
It's
Ricky,
incredible though to see him go. He's been doing this now for what 40 years now. Rick Pitino's been coaching 40, almost
yeah, he
50.
was as a head coach at BU, took him to the
To
tournament.
see him be able to be this great over that span of time with how the
Sick.
times have
It's
changed
nuts.
and how the game has changed. I mean, it literally is a testament to just how much of a freak this guy really is. And now,
Yeah.
I mean, the game is light years different now. I mean, obviously, analytics is not as taken over college basketball as much as the NBA, but it's still there, though. There's no question. And now you have the transfer portal and everything for him to still be successful, no matter what the guidelines are, no matter what the game is looking like. It's just incredible.
Yeah, he's if there is a possibility to say he's underrated, he is.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and everybody knows Rick Pitino's great, but still, even people could recognize your greatness and still not truly understand how much of a freak you are in a wonderful sense.
And the reason I love him over a guy like a Phil Jackson is Rick doesn't care about the job; he's going to take it.
Right.
Phil,
Exactly. That's
Phil's
the
like
thing. That's the thing with him. I just feel like he's a fearless individual.
I got is Kobe and Shaq there? Okay, I'll take that job.
And obviously, he's had some problems, right? The
Sure,
brothel with Louisville
absolutely, yeah,
and
absolutely. But
the
that
mistress
is
the mistress
we're
on
talking
the
about
dining room table.
for talking about just coaching. If we're
Oh
talking
yeah,
about coaching. I'll take him, and I'll take Bob Knight, and I'll take Coach K because of his people skills, and John Wooden. And I'll take those guys. I mean, yeah, I'll take them before I take Dean. That's just me, though. So that's just me.
we'll end the day on the show, Uncle Dave, on this. Rob Pelinka is talking about in this interview here. I'm going to show you the video with Luka Doncic about him playing on the Slovenian national team ahead of the NBA season. Now, obviously, with a lot of more foreign players now, this is going to be a bigger and bigger thing now with them playing for their home countries in the off.
Ginobili did it forever.
Exactly right. Yep, Manu Ginobili did it, but back then. 15, 20 plus years ago was obviously you didn't have not nearly as many European players as you do now. So, what is your opinion on this? Is this something you think's not a big deal? If you're an NBA team, do you think they should be more restrictive on these guys as far as them playing 5-on-5 rather obviously versus just working out? How do you see this? Do you think it's something that you think is
Well,
beneficial or is it kind of a risk that's not worth
it
taking?
is a risk, but I don't think it's a problem in the European guys' mind. They just want to play basketball. It's not like the American spoiled player.
Right.
I mean, look at all these guys. These European guys, if they do that All-Star game, USA versus the rest of the world, European guys are going to go all out. Our guys will be like worried about their sneaker or some other crap. The European guys always play. Manu Ginobili's played more basketball than any human being ever lived. He would play right away, get out of
He's
the
another
finals.
guy, just a freak. I mean, the guy played, I think, in the offseason. He must have played equivalent to another like 5 years in the NBA.
Yeah, after a long postseason run, he's playing overseas. He's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Just a great player. So I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. I understand from the contract part of it, especially with Luka, who's less than in good shape. He does look slimmer right now. But again, like he's people predicting he's going to be MVP. I mean that doesn't mean shit to me. Go do something in the playoffs where you can actually defend somebody. So like I said to you before, Luka. I mean, with his shape, I think I would be concerned. But like I said, it never bothered Tony Parker. Never bothered Manu. It doesn't bother
Right.
Joker.
Those are great examples there. The Spurs, Tony Parker and Ginobili were constantly playing in the offseason. So that's a good example right there.
Joker's going to play.
Yep.
I believe Dirk played.
Yep, he did. Yep, he did. Yep. And the FIBA games and everything and the World Cup games. Yep.
I think Gobert plays. Now, if Joel Embiid's playing, I'd be pissed if I was the Sixers since this guy's never plays. But, what are you going to do? You'd have to put something in the contract. and I think he can re-up his deal, Luca, next year. I believe next summer if there's not a lockout. So I think that Luca will get a different contract next year, but that's why the Mavs got out of it. They didn't want to commit to the max.
Yeah, I think it's something that obviously it depends. I think on the player, but you run the risk, I think, of maybe losing these guys a little mentally if you try to handcuff them too much. Obviously, you don't want them being burnt out, but if they feel like they can do it, then you gotta, I think, let them do it.
Well, plus it's a bad look to have a guy tell your guy he can't play for his country.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
It's a
they're just
bad
the
look
optics.
politically.
The optics of that are not great. Yeah,
I mean, if it's a guy that doesn't look like he cares a lot, like Joel Embiid, that's one thing. But Joker always cared. Um, a guy like Ginobili always cared. Just to use them examples. You want to let them play. They have guys that have always been into it, so I would let them do it.
yeah. And the fact that it's basketball, I think, also it should reassure you. If not, if these guys were going, snowboarding, maybe you say, all right, maybe you lay off that, right? That, but if you're playing 5-on-5, you kind of you figure you have to kind of let them do it. But I also understand the concern, though. It's like you're risky. I mean, this is your franchise now in your hands. Let's be honest. They play, like you said, all summer on top of already playing in the NBA, and also that doesn't include preseason, off-season workouts with the team and everything like that. I think a lot of it with the European countries catching up, I think, is just devotion and love of the game, right? With a lot of these different
Well,
things.
they're teaching the game too, and I believe that they don't have AAU culture. AAU
Yes,
culture. I've
yes.
seen a lot of articles
The
about
club
this.
team culture in other countries is not the same as AAU culture. Over
No,
here,
AAU.
it's very individual oriented. There, it's very team oriented.
I've seen even a lot of pros. Richard Jefferson was speaking out about how bad
Yes,
AAU was,
yep. I saw
and
that.
also some other pros are speaking out about it. Antonio Daniels, people like that, and I always said, there's an old phrase that there's a lot of money in bad basketball,
No, it's
and
so true. Oh my Lord.
for example, Long Island is the king of that. Not
Yes.
criticizing Long Island talent. There's plenty of good players here, but these days the AAU that's here now,
Oh God.
like I explain to people all the time, 1992, there's three AAU teams. There's the Brooklyn Beasts. There's like Riverside Church and the LA Panthers, and maybe the Gauchos, four. And there's no shit teams. I know because I recruited. There are no shit teams. Okay. Then it starts to expand. In the first couple of Lightning years, very good Lightning teams, but now it is like six Lightning teams for each group, for each age group. And it's just expanded it when we had no talent to expand it. That plus Rick Pitino's old quote, another Rick Pitino quote, that lacrosse would kill Long Island basketball. He's right.
That's very true. I did not even think of that with the lacrosse
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Right.
He's
Yeah,
right.
that's so
Because you know
true.
what? I'm not looking, and Ted Thomas can write all he wants about, Long Island basketball still where it was. No, it's not. I've been doing it for a long time. It's not. So there's a good group on Facebook called Long Island Basketball History. Tristan Smith runs it from Amityville, and it's just not the same players. You
Yeah.
look at the names of the players that we had playing.
Yeah.
And he said to me, he said, "Well, coach, what's the difference?" I said, "Well, it's just personal pride." And he said, "Elaborate." I said, "Look, guys today will let a guy go wherever he wants. They'll let him cut wherever he wants. They won't get in his shit bringing the ball up the court. There's none of that just like automatic swag. Like, I love this game. I'm going to get in your shit.
Right.
Like today, it's like, all right, guy caught the ball in the post and abused me. Back in the day, you'd like get pissed off and knock him on his ass.
Yeah.
Like,
You used to be a lot more tenacity and grittiness. Yeah.
but people just love the game. It's
Yeah.
turned to poop.
Yeah.
So it's just disgusting. And that's the difference I see. And he wanted me to elaborate, so I did. I said, "Look, man, I'm just be honest. I'm not bashing anybody, but the passion is different.
Yeah. It's so true.
I just see it. I just see it since Gordon's year graduated, 2017. I had most of those kids all the way through from CYO, so we made them play hard. But that's like a book title for me. Like the last year of basketball, I've already
I
fought
know
for
when I
book.
was on the Silver Bullets and the Lightning, there were, like you said, there was only one team for each age group and grade. That was it. There was
Yeah,
so basically everyone that was on those teams was a very serious player. There was no weekend warriors. Now you have kids that are on technical travel teams, AAU teams, that don't even play for their high school. I mean, what do we
yeah.
do?
Well, that's the funny part. And like I said, there's a lot of money in bad basketball.
It used
And
to be, back when I was younger, if you said you were on an AAU team, that meant you were like a high level player.
yeah,
That was like basically like a badge of honor. Like I'm going to be playing high level in high school and in college. If you were doing that, that's what basically it said.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look around, even
You
it
were a different level.
used to be even that with the baseball. When I was growing up, we had those travel teams in the summer. You know, one team had Craig Biggio on it, Ron Whitmire, two
Yeah, he
pros
said
right
there's like
there.
three guys that played in the minor
Major
and
league.
major leagues. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So it's just a little different now, and then with the basketball, it's just gotten so bad. And I love the kids dearly, but
Yeah,
it's just a
it's
different
way
world.
more diluted than it was back,
I will
even
say,
10 plus years ago.
there are some teams though that like this last year's St. Anthony's team was a joy to watch. Sal did a great job with them, and they reminded me of like some old school talent. They had a lot of good pieces that played well together. I don't know if anybody's you know as good as John Schmidt was, but they just played well together. I watched them 3 times, and they were fun to watch. They were really good.
Yep.
That was a real good team to watch. Sometimes you get those teams, and you just love watching them, and they play so hard. But just the thought process for the game today is different. The skill level, everybody has a trainer, but yet they're not skilled. So it's kind of weird. They're skilled in all the wrong ways, and so and it's really I hate to say this, but it's really the parents that have ruined it. So thinking that your kid's averaging 4 a game in a CYO league, a house league at St. Pat's, means that your kid's a basketball player is really uninformed. But you can't tell anybody that. It's just you know it's really scary. So like you'll have people come to you after 4 years of playing for you in high school who didn't make any attempt to go play at a camp and say, well, what about college? And I go, what about it? Did
Yeah,
you go to the hoop group? Did you go to any of those camps and get
yeah.
your ass kicked?
You have to be proactive. Yeah, and you're
Did you go out and get exposed by like all these other great players? If you didn't do that, you didn't go to the hoop group and get your ass kicked in those hot gyms. You didn't get fucking dunked on. You didn't get a fucking guy D'ing up in your shit the size of a fire hydrant.
right.
One of those fuckers going, yeah, okay, well then you've been through it. If you haven't, you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah,
Like
you
the
just have
first
to
time
you just have to get exposure and get your name out there. It's one of
yeah,
those things though, like you said, unless you're like Carlos Boozer in Alaska and just a beast, no one's gonna come find you.
right. And if you're when you and those some of those good camps, when you catch the ball and a kid gets in your shit, and the first time you do that, 'cause you're far from Long Island, you're like, well, I can't front pivot right now. He's so in my shit.
Right.
Like that. That lets you know where you are.
I think everyone that was a good player on Long Island or wherever you are, if you're not in a hotbed of basketball, let's say, where it's just you're producing talent like it's just, it's commonplace. I think everybody remembers the first time that happens to you and you're like, "Whoa, this is different."
Yeah,
And like you
yeah,
said, with Gordon, the teams that you had, I'm
yeah.
sure you were, you were there for a lot of those kids' first times where they're like, okay, this is different. When you brought them that first tournament, wherever in
Sure.
Jersey or
Well, that's why we went to
Connecticut,
the Nationals with them.
yeah,
We went to the Nationals with them, and everybody was like a head bigger than my guys.
right.
And we didn't. I remember saying we had 4 really good guards, and not one of them could go north or south the whole weekend.
Well, that's what I tell people. I'm like, you don't understand when you get to the highest level of basketball, it's about eating up space and covering space in a short amount of time and a large length of space. I said that's what those guys are able to do. They're just able to cover ground way quicker than you,
Yeah,
and
and like I like to describe it to parents
it's
is,
a different gear. Yeah,
yeah, I always say to parents, I say, well, if you're someone outside right now and play with a fifth grader, the fifth grader can't go anywhere. That's what it's like.
right. Yeah,
It's like
it's really no different.
if you played a fifth grader one on one, and that one on one, I beat the coach. Think how many times you played that with Gus's camp or something. Like you could shut one of those kids down all day
Yeah, it
because you're
doesn't
just
matter.
bigger, you're stronger, you're quicker. It's just it's people have no idea. It's a
No,
different freaking world.
right,
It's different genetics. It's different everything.
right.
Now, are there guys? Are there guys that are missed? Yeah, absolutely.
Of
Like
course there are. Yes. Yep.
there are kids like the kid who played point for Ohio State. He wasn't a big, strong kid.
Well, we
Kraft, but
saw
he
it in
won
the
a best.
tournament, Uncle Dave, too. We saw on Drake. Those kids were a bunch of D2 kids that
Yeah.
all of a sudden they found themselves in the NCAA tournament. How did that happen? Obviously,
Yeah.
someone under recruited them.
Yeah, absolutely. And but then again, their coach played a style that highlighted who
Oh,
they
they were
are.
fun to watch this last year,
Yep,
Drake. They really
that
were.
kid's a pro. That big, tall, skinny, blonde kid's a pro.
Yes. Yep.
He's like a poor man's Larry Bird, that kid. But the funny thing is, it's like again, it's the level of talent that's out there. And there's so much depth of talent out there now. Now that it's an international game, like I remember when I used to go to the hoop group when you were first born in the early '90s. Spain would bring a whole team over. They were just trying to catch on at D3 and D2 schools,
Right.
and we got a kid from Israel. We got a kid at Stony Brook from Israel. Like they were all trying to get kids over here because they wanted the education, and it was great. But the game hadn't really caught there. Canada, when I used to work Syracuse's camp, Canada being right there had a bunch of good Canadian players. But that those teams today are just they're teaching the game like we did 20 years ago, and this is where the AAU and the high school systems of today. It's just that's why there's good 25-year-old, 27-year-old coaches who just give it up because of the garbage that it's become. It's tough.
Yeah. Yep. The game's always evolving or devolving, however you want to.
Yeah, devolving in this place.
Nothing stays the same. It either keeps going
Yeah,
forward.
I won't say it's the game as much as it is. It's just the commitment to the game.
Exactly. It's the people involved with the game. Exactly. Yep. And
Yeah.
the people that are teaching it, that are coaching it. It's all of the above. And obviously generational as time goes on. What's the current climate as far as how we're doing things, as a country? It's like it gets really
Yeah.
deep once you look at everything like that, the times we're living in and whatnot. But yeah, all right, we'll wrap it up there, Uncle Dave, for this show.
All right.
And all you basketball friends out there, live long and prosper. May the force be with you.
Take care.